Yeah, but enough about Coastal because we'll see more of them later. Now we have got University of South Carolina versus Clemson coming up, and the players are ready, so I think it's time to get into this game. Ooh, I'm excited.
The Battle of South Carolina. This is that matchup. Two really beefy schools. You got the South Carolina Gamecocks and the Clemson Tigers going to be taking this series. They're not just rivals in football, folks. They're rivals in Rocket League, and you're about to see that right here. Both these teams really high up in these standings, going to be performing to the best of their abilities here in this group stage and sort of showing off who truly is the king of South Carolina.
And again, both of these teams have a lot to prove. It is another South Carolina battle here. It seems like at the beginning of the day, USC is just fighting all of the other South Carolina teams trying to secure themselves as the king of South Carolina.
Yeah, we are going to see right now both teams playing the ball a little bit around midfield. No one's been able to take that pure aggression yet, as we're going to see Solar mess around a little bit, try to get this ball more. A little bump back at the goal there, a little friendly bump, but still going to be okay. But Clemson's doing a really good job right now keeping this aggression on the side of South Carolina, and they really need to get that aggression, turn it around, and force that back on to Clemson, which is what we're starting to see here.
We are indeed, but again, we're just a minute in. A lot of these players are just feeling each other out. Remember, this is a war of attrition. We're just seeing matches back to back to back. USC just got out of their matchup, and they're heading down here. Clemson had a little bit more time to just cool down from their game, reset, and come down here, sit at the PCs for a little bit, get a little bit of practice in. But for USC, they came right from upstairs down here onto the PCs and right into this other matchup. And already we're seeing a little bit of aggression from both sides here. A double demo 1-for-1 trade. So it is not really much of a power play. But again, this is just the aggression and the sort of physicality that these players are playing with.
Yeah, you know, we've discussed how a game like Rocket League can do really, really well in these really fast environments. You know, 10 seconds you have a goal, another 10 seconds later you have another goal. But at the same time, these games can last the full 5 minutes, and that's when you have to be really careful, is when you're in this last sort of minute scenario where both teams are not able to score any goal, and all of a sudden one of these teams comes out with a goal, and then you have to be, okay, now it's pure aggression, no more mistakes, and you have to play it really, really well, because that's what it comes down to. A shot's going to go in. Clemson's going to get some bombardment on their goal, but South Carolina, unfortunately, not going to be able to get that advantage that they're looking for currently.
I know, and look at that defense from Clemson. Clemson just stopping everything from going into the net. They are there on the goal line, preventing any sort of advantage for South Carolina. But again, they keep struggling to keep possession of the ball. They're able to clear it and get it away, but South Carolina is there to receive, to pick up any sort of clear that Clemson has. And then South Carolina is back on the attack. We haven't seen a lot of aggression out of Clemson. They haven't been able to make a lot happen, and that's really where we might see this game start to fix things off.
Yeah, and that's what you really have to be careful for right now is, you know, we're at 2 minutes already. No team has scored anything quite yet, and you have to be careful because this is sort of that really scary situation of, are you going to end up losing that goal and have another 3 minutes of goalless time? Because this is where that time starts to really take really hard advantage as Og, an A-ranked player in six-mans, which is really, really good. That's an understatement. Going to be getting that nice demo, but have to be careful looking out for those types of players because they're the type of player to 1v6, 1v3. I was thinking how many players.
1v6, yeah. Og's about to take everyone in the lobby down.
Just demo the entire lobby and then just get the goal.
I don't think that's exactly what we're going to see, but we do have a lot of very talented players, and yes, you're right, kind of going above and beyond just that SSL rank, but also being rank A in six-mans is nothing to scoff at, and definitely a player that you're going to want to keep your eyes on. And there it is. Solar kicks things off for USC, and finally, almost 4 minutes into game number one, USC is finally able to find the goal that they were looking for this entire time.
Yeah, and now Clemson going to be that team that needs to try and be aggressive. Put this aggression towards South Carolina, not let that ball on their side of the field, because currently what's happening with Og with a great air dribble, and what a shot from Og.
Yeah, gonna win out on that 1v1. Let's take another look at that. Gets the ball up in the air. The dribble is there. Getting past the defense, even gets a little bit of a clang there, but the ball gets through nice and secure, and just like that, it went from a tied game to now a 2-0 lead for South Carolina.
Yeah, and we are going to see that Clemson was able to win that kickoff there, but Cat's going to be a really good goalie, stop the ball from going in, but Clemson now needs to do some really good work here. Both these teams also, I want to keep this in mind, is right now both these teams have lost their first match of the day. So this is going to determine that next seeding in today's groups of how they're going to be going in seeded tomorrow. And both these teams, very, very good teams, and they're looking at being seeded 3 and 4 right now.
They are indeed, but I mean, South Carolina, look at that. They are so dominant right now. That 2-0 lead has really just allowed them to have so much breathing room. We've even seen several mistakes out of Clemson because of the sudden shift, the sudden change in the game. We saw a double commit a little bit earlier, and it's just Clemson struggling to find an answer for South Carolina, as South Carolina is they just need to waste the time at this point. 7 seconds on the clock. Time is ticking away. Clemson trying to make something happen, trying to just stop the ball from going back into their net. And just like that, USC will win game 1.
Yeah, and USC doing a really, really good job. They're able to take that victory on Clemson, but that's just match number 1. That is a best of 3, so Clemson can come back at this. But I mean, look at that, Alex. 4 minutes of goalless time. And then USC, players like Og and Solar able to take that victory up against Clemson. And this is where you need to start worrying a little bit, right? Is where you need to think, okay, now that we've played 5 minutes against each other, now taking those advantage, finding that sort of mistake in the other team's defenses and finding that. That's what Clemson needs to do if they want to make this a game 3.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, but having adaptability, having the ability to switch up what you're doing, change up your game plan, and just get back into this game. That is exactly what they need to do. And I think they were doing a good job before. Earlier in game 1, they were able to stay alive. They were able to stop the shots. They were able even a little bit to have some aggression on their part. But what we saw time and time again was the University of South Carolina had possession. They had control of the ball for a majority of the game, and they didn't really allow Clemson any breathing room or any time to take advantage of the possessions that they did have. Instead, they were there swiping the ball away, sniping away that opportunity, and Clemson just couldn't find what they were looking for.
Yeah, Clemson just unfortunately not able to take that swipe or no swiping that South Carolina was pulling on them. But we are going to see as we get straight into game number 2, USC going to start off strong, a 7-second goal, and Solar, nice shot from them.
And we see the defense from Clemson, but the alley-oop, the rebound is there to be picked up. You talked about basketball before, but that's the rebound right there. South Carolina was there. They were ready for the clear, and the clear just wasn't good enough. Instead, it was in the waiting arms of Solar, and South Carolina's trying to set themselves up again. And even when we see Clemson have a defense, South Carolina keeps the ball alive. They keep up this pressure.
Yeah, South Carolina doing a really good job right now, keeping this pressure on the Clemson. And honestly, this is what you want to do, right? You are not quite in your comfort goal where you can say, all right, you know, we're 4 up in this series. We're confident. You still have 4 minutes and 20 seconds left, and you're only 1 goal up. You have to be careful. You have to be aware that Clemson can easily take this match back. And if you're Clemson, you got to be thinking, we can easily take this match back.
Yeah, you can't let game 1 dictate your fate. You need to keep pushing forward. You need to keep having hope, because anything is possible. And we've seen it in Rocket League. There's so much opportunity for upsets, for resets, for just the unimaginable. The problem is that you need to keep that hope alive. You need to have that confidence, and you need to not allow your opponent to have their way with this game. And that's kind of what we're seeing here, as South Carolina is stealing a lot of these corner boosts, is getting a lot of these boosts and trying to make something happen. But again, we see an aerial contention. Clemson does get the better half of it, but they just aren't able to keep control of this ball. And South Carolina had an attempt. Solar trying to make something happen up in the air, a little bit wide, not able to find it. The ball is still here. It's still alive. Clemson with the attack, the attempt, will get stuffed out for a moment. And again, look at this. This is so back and forth. These players are essentially passing it in between the enemy teams.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of what you have to be careful of, is Clemson's able to get these passes, but South Carolina is really good at just sort of coming out from either side of the field and just putting down everything that Clemson has to offer. And that is what you need to be very, very aware of, is you have players like Og and Solar who are just going to deny every sort of push that you decide to put onto them. And right now, we're going to see a lot of aggression from South Carolina trying to secure that goal, but not quite going to be able to do it. Clemson going to be back on the aggression. No boost left, though. We're going to see Og just come out from the goal side of USC's field and able to find a really nice defense there. And once more, South Carolina going to play aggressive with the ball back on Clemson's side of the field.
And I think this is really important while you're talking about boost. This is a really important time for South Carolina to start to get aggressive. We saw it before. Snipes was sitting there for almost 30 seconds at 0 boost. Mitch running out of boost there as well. Just didn't have the speed. They don't have the boost to keep up in the air. And again, we keep seeing it over and over again. Clemson is running out of these boosts because South Carolina has been doing a good job of stealing the back boost from Clemson, where Clemson just doesn't have that opportunity, but Snipes gets a little bit of a slow goal here, ends up winning out on the 50-50, gets a weird touch on it, passes it back to himself, gets it past the defense, and no one is there left to stop it. Clemson ties it up, just a little under 2 minutes remaining. Again, though, I feel like South Carolina is in control of this game. They're taking the boost. They just allowed something like that to slip through their fingers.
Yeah, and you know, I want to mention how Snipes had the splash icon when he made that goal. There's probably no better type of goal maker to have in Myrtle Beach with all the splashing that you can get. But as I'm saying that, we are going to be looking at a minute 30 here with USC going to be trying to get this lead once more, but Clemson wanting to make sure that they go to a map 3, that they can keep this aggression, keep this pressure on South Carolina, and that is exactly what they're going for right now. A shot is going to come in from Clemson, but South Carolina is going to bring it back once more, keep that pressure back on Clemson's side of the goal, as that is just going to be constant bombardment. But we are going to see the goal goes back over the side of USC, and Clemson just not able to find these final shot makers to get this lead.
Oh my gosh, Og trying to run through the entire team of Clemson, making it past 1, making it past 2, but not quite able to make it past that third. Clemson, the defense is too strong. The players are ready. They know the shenanigans they need to keep on their minds, and now it's up to Cats to stop the aggression. We'll get a touch onto it. We'll get a second touch, but it's still not enough. The ball is centered, and now there's no one in the back corner for Clemson as Cats is trying to keep up this aggression. Ball climbs up the wall a little bit higher than expected, but South Carolina is not slowing down on their push. They are getting the touches. They're preventing Clemson from getting the touches, and there is the pass, the aggression. 30 seconds left, just a little under 30 seconds. The ball rolls haphazardly in front of the net. Oh my gosh, Clemson needs to clear it. They need to have something. They do get the touch. Mitch now has the aggression. They're pushing forward.
And there it is, not quite a little bit of the ball just going up and down, trying to figure out where it wanted to go for a little bit there, but Clemson and USC now going to be approaching that 2 seconds left. The ball stays up in the air and the round will continue, but that is what we're going to see now as the game is still tied. So either you make the shot or we go into a golden goal overtime situation. Clemson and USC looking to keep this ball on their side of the aggression, but the ball will touch the ground. We're in a golden goal situation, Alexander. Whoever makes this next goal takes this match and potentially the full series if you're USC.
Anything could happen here, but again, I want to go back to how close South Carolina was to getting that score. And again, the ball is right in front of the net. There's not that second man there to just knock it in, and Clemson, the defense has been on point ever since that first goal. Clemson has really tightened up what they've been doing, really prevented USC from having free reign of the map, and even now, they're putting on the aggression. They're not just a defensive heavy team. They do have the ability to get aggressive, to take these shots.
Yeah, and Clemson going to be doing a really good job keeping that aggression, returning it onto South Carolina. A demo will come up onto Og, and Og is definitely a player to be careful of if you are USC. But Clemson going to start aggression here. Og's going to be coming in, making sure that ball does not go in the USC goal, but that pressure back on USC, as I say, that will be flipped back on the side of Clemson. We are going to see a nice save is going to come in from Mitch, and we are already a minute into golden goal. The players, this is where you start to get that fatigue. You start to get that sort of nervousness, the excitement of this match being this close, and already a minute over in this time. The ball's going to go in, but not quite, as South Carolina's going to keep that defense from Clemson and making that final shot, and Clemson goes back again for the defense.
Yeah, again, right, it's just Clemson getting ready to clear the ball. They know when to touch it, and both of these teams have been doing a great job of defending and clearing, specifically Clemson. But what Clemson has been struggling with is that possession after the clear.
No one's on the goal, it's Snipes! With a snipe of a shot is going to take this victory. Clemson is just barely going to make it out alive, but this is gorgeous, Alexander. A nice splash to finish off that victory. Now Clemson and USC 1-1 in this series. We're going to a match number 3.
Yeah, and Clemson had done a great job there, especially at the end. We saw it getting past 2 defenders from University of South Carolina. Didn't quite get the bounce that I guess the defenders were expecting, and the ball just got past him. So like you said, game 3 around the corner. This very well, I believe, is our first game 3 of the day. Who'd expect to see it like this? Also in overtime of all things as well. What a treat already. And wow, yeah.
There's nothing else you can expect, right? I mean, these teams not wanting to go home easy. They want to bring it to a game 3. 2-1 Clemson, and I believe USC won the last one. It was 4-2 or 3-2, I believe it was. I don't remember the exact score off the top of my head, but just like that, we're going to a game 3. Overtime's already commenced, and these players are ready to bring it on and bring their best, and it is still only the group stage.
Yeah, exactly. It's still only group stage, but maybe that's what maybe this is where you really want to start feeling out your opponents, figuring out what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. We have seen a little bit of some mistakes from both of these teams. We saw a couple of double commits out of Clemson. We saw that end there for South Carolina, just kind of letting that ball bounce past them, unfortunately. But, right, this is where both of these teams can shore up some of those mistakes, figure out where they need to be, figure out how they want to defend and how they want to get back into this series. I mean, like you said, Clemson, unfortunately, losing to Northeastern a little bit earlier. They need a win here. University of South Carolina did win over Coastal, so they are 1-0. But again, any sort of win, any sort of benefit that they can take is exactly what they need and what they want to do, so that come tomorrow, they have a better position, they have better seating, and they're ready for it. But wow, Clemson starting out strong, swinging with Mitch and the demo. We're going to start things off quick from Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson, that is some team play right there. The nice shot's going to go in. The demo comes out on to Solar, and the ball is just able to roll right on into the goal. Clemson going to start this one off strong, looking to get this 2-1 victory over USC.
I don't even know if that was an intentional demo. It almost looked like Clemson was just pushing forward, and South Carolina just kind of fell into the player near the ball. Ended up being a demo, ended up protecting that ball and allowing them to get a early start. And this is something very different from what we saw, where the games have been a little bit slower, and now they're starting it off fast.
Yeah, and I think that's what these teams like to do, right? They enjoy playing it fast. There's a lot more to happen. There's a lot more for us to do, and there's a lot more things that these players can work with, a lot more situations that are going to be coming into play, and that is what we're going to see. And this mirror of aggression, we talked about it earlier today with our first matchup, is which team can take that aggression, which one is better at that mirror of aggression and that really offensive play, and that's what it comes down to. Is Solar is not quite going to be able to make the shot. Snipes comes in with 2 defenses and not going to let that goal go in yet, but South Carolina wants this one hard, keeping that bombardment of the ball going into that goal here. Og not going to have enough boost to be able to do much else there, and Clemson's now going to start to bring this ball back over to USC's side of the field.
And that's another thing that we need to keep in mind and we need to pay attention to for USC in particular is, yes, Og is one of those players that we're keeping our eyes on, one of these very, very talented players, but in a game like Rocket League, you can't do it all yourself. So at times like that where Og has possession but is running out of boost and is looking for an open teammate, we might see a couple of mistakes like that where South Carolina just isn't ready to play at that level, isn't ready to be in position where they need to be. But, I mean, it seems like they are at least in some good positions as they are just still constantly berating the net of Clemson, and all Clemson can do to stay alive is just stop the next shot, stop the next shot, stop the next shot, and it's been working so far, and they have been able to keep their lead. They just haven't been able to get possession of the ball.
Yeah, and Clemson is able to hold this 2.5 minutes as we're approaching now. Clemson's doing a really good job here, keeping this aggression and keeping this defense, starting to do a lot more of what they've truly been working on going forward, and stopping USC from doing sort of their thing of getting those goals and finding that victory. Solar will find a nice demo, and Cats will take advantage and find the shot and even up this series with 2:15 remaining. Alexander.
Interestingly enough, both of the goals that we've seen here in this match have been directly because of the cause of a demo. Either it's a demo to protect the ball or a demo because you have a little bit of that power play. You don't have that third person. You're messing up some of the rotations and allowing them some more space. And I think that really just goes to show the fundamentals of both of these teams are there. They're very solid, and you just need to go a little bit out of your way. You need to go a little bit extra if you want to get past the defense of either of these teams.
Yeah, and as we are going to approach just under 2 minutes, these teams looking to take this lead and continue forward. South Carolina and Clemson really need to figure out what they want to do going forward, because both these teams are really, really good at just really denying every push that these players are doing, normally on an individual basis, and that's where this team play comes in, is are you able to pass? Are you able to find those demos to help your team go forward? And that's what we need to see from both of these teams, not just one in particular, but both of them, to truly take this pure advantage. As Og will find a demo, Cats will go for the shot, but the save is going to come out. Clemson is now going to be able to start keeping this defense on and turn it back around onto USC.
And that's the thing, though. Clemson can't rest on their laurels. They were able to do it before when they were just stopping the shots over and over again, but now that it's tied up, they need a goal. They need something. And like you said, this is where they're starting to get a little bit aggressive. This is where they're starting to try to get back into this game, try to get another lead and keep it there. We've just hit that minute mark. South Carolina has not slowed down on their aggression, but the defense from Clemson hasn't slowed down either. So we're just at a stalemate at this point.
Yeah, and you know what stalemates mean, Alexander? It means overtime, as we are going to be approaching 45 seconds now going into this matchup. Still 1-1, South Carolina and Clemson trying to find that final goal, trying to find that lead as we're approaching nearly no more recovery scenario if either one of these teams makes a shot. A long goal is going to go in, but we are going to see that Cats is going to find the nice defense. No more aggression from Clemson here. The boosts are still relatively even, and that's what you have to be aware of, is neither one of these teams are really taking advantage of that boost arb or having a boost advantage over either team. It's still relatively even, and that's where this team fight comes into play. Is as we're approaching 10 seconds left, no goal is made yet, and Clemson's going to find a nice defense. Ball will stay active, but only for how long, Alexander?
Only for 4 more seconds. They need to do something. Your ball touches the ground right before we hit the 0 time. These players are going to try to keep it up, but just like that, we're going into overtime. And you said this earlier, but you said it was like a team fight. And while Rocket League doesn't have any fighting game mechanics, it definitely does feel like a dog fight happening here, as these teams are going for the demos, they're going for bumps, they're going for this aggression. It really does feel like a team fight rather than car soccer at this point, where both of these teams, yeah, they're hitting the ball, but it seems like they're hitting each other a little bit more. This is a demolition derby, and oh my gosh, Og is there, and just like that, South Carolina goes up 2-1 against Clemson, both in this game and in the entirety of this series. Look at that angle.
That is the Og. That's the A-rank player that we were expecting to see from USC, and just like that, only about 30 seconds into overtime, but USC may have lost round number 2, but they won this one, and now Clemson's down 2 rounds in this group stage seeding. But USC, on the other hand, they're feeling great right now.
They are feeling good indeed. I will say, though, I don't think that they have the opportunity to be too overconfident.
Yes.
Because one, Coastal came out a little bit stronger than we were expecting, than they were expecting, as well as Clemson here giving them a run for their money, taking them to game 3. It was by no means a wash. It was by no means a sweep. Everyone is here to play, and we are seeing that live in action here as everyone is just a menace right now. And I know I've said this before, but the longer that we are here, the more games that we see, the more excited I am for tomorrow, because again, this is just seeding, and the players, the teams, they know that. They understand that it's not life or death just yet. They know that the money isn't on the line just yet. And so maybe some players will be like, all right, we'll lose a couple games today, scope out the other teams, figure out what they're doing, and tomorrow we come out swinging. It's
that long game kind of play, right? Is you say, all right, let's have some fun, right? Let's see what happens if we just let some other teams win, and that's a strat, right? That is a strat. So it's kind of going to be interesting to see how these teams perform, but just like that, we're going to see that as the night goes on, more people walk into the hangout, walk into this Myrtle Beach LAN event, and it is getting more and more hype. The lights are looking nice, especially on you, Alexander, and they are just getting more and more intense, more and more hyped up, and these players, they're getting heated.
Absolutely, and that's kind of the joy, both the benefit and the monster of LAN events, where as the day gets on, you get hyper and hyper. There's more people. People are gathering. The noise is getting louder. But at the same time, that fatigue is starting to hit. You're starting to get worn down. You're starting to really feel it. And I think by the end of today, these players are going to really be feeling it. And that will transfer over into tomorrow, because that is the killer of tomorrow. But before we even think about what's happening on Saturday, we have got our favorite on the land, on the floor, on the floor. Our favorite boy, it is our host Kyler. He has another interview coming with you. Kyler, take it away.
Fellas, thank you so much again. I'm here with Carl, aka Cats. Congratulations. You guys have come out so hot so far. Took down Coastal already, and now you took down Clemson as well, so you've established yourselves at the top of the South Carolina hierarchy. We were talking a little bit before the event kind of about your guys' experience, what you were thinking coming into this. You guys have essentially kind of done a fresh rebuild, and you guys are already coming out and doing this already. Talk to me a little bit about your guys' experience and what this LAN has been like as of so far.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, coming out here, playing at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, you know, it's fantastic to be here, be with the team. It's a great group of guys that I get to play with. Solar and Og, they're fantastic. This is Og's freshman year. This is only as a team our second LAN ever. So it's great to be here, playing against some South Carolina teams, and we're going to go see some other teams soon.
And you mentioned to me as well that you guys are undefeated in essentially all of your leagues, continuing that streak as of thus far. Tell me a little bit about your guys' season so far and what you're expecting going forward.
Yeah, for sure. So in all the leagues, like you said, we've been doing pretty well. We play in a SEC, ACC league, and we're undefeated there. 1 seed going into playoffs. Clemson's a part of that bracket as well. You know, it's always great to play against Clemson. We've had some great matches. Those 2 overtimes are very intense, so it was a great time.
Absolutely. Again, I'm really just expecting the best from you guys. You guys have continued to show out here, and I'm very excited to have y'all. Carl, thank you again so much for your time. Guys, we're going to throw it to a Be Right Back, but after a short message, we'll be right back with more Rocket League.